everybody doing?
Great.
All right, so I've had an opportunity to talk to Christy about, well, I call her Christy. You all probably refer her as Miss Louds, but that's my sister, so I don't know her as anything else but Christy. She told me a little bit about your school and the great things that you're doing here. So it kind of sounds like I'm going to be preaching to the choir, but I think there are some really cool things that I can share with you today that I think that you can use as you propel into the last couple of months of school. So she told me that Wednesdays you all celebrate college awareness. So I have my Clark Atlanta University gear on today, and if it's okay with you, I tell my young men not to wear their hats in the building. But if it's okay with you, I'm going to wear my Clark Atlanta hat while I present, if that's okay. Sounds good? All right. So today we're going to talk about engaging today's student for a better tomorrow. We're going to take a contemporary look at research-based practices that incorporate cultural competency to engage today's student. And so, like Chrissy said, we have PDs in the afternoon. You have them in the morning. So I know your time is really important, so I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible so you can have the time to go back to your classrooms and prepare for the day. So the activating strategy that we're going to use, you have a green sheet of paper on your, well, that you should have grabbed. It says if you could describe the academic year thus far using a movie, television show, poem, or song, what would you choose and explain why? So if you can answer that really quick, and I'm just going to call on a couple of people to share out if they don't mind. If you could pick a movie, a television show, poem, or song to describe the academic year thus far, what would you choose and why? Any movie that comes to mind, any television show, poem, song, it doesn't matter. All right, so I see a lot of energy right here. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start at this table right here. And even if you didn't have an opportunity to write it out, if you just want to share out, that would be fine. So tell me your name. Nicole. Nicole. So Nicole's going to share out her movie, her television show, or poem that describes this year, and she's going to tell us why she chose that particular.
It was just a motivational song that I just started singing, The Eye of the Tiger.
The Eye of the Tiger.
The fight. I don't know.
And how does that relate to your academic school year so far?
Challenges that I face and just continuing to face, you know, those problem areas of my students and fighting through the battles of those behavior problems and still encouraging the other ones who are actively willing to participate.
Exactly, and that's the great thing about the Eye of the Tiger, because the Eye of the Tiger is resilient, right? So although they're enduring issues and problems throughout the year, ultimately they're going to win in the end, correct? So excellent example, Nicole.
Thank you.
All right, so the purpose of the PD is to work collaboratively and build capacity through exploring and implementing research-based practices that drive student engagement and create a culturally competent and rigorous learning environment. Our norms are to be professional, respectful, stay engaged, share thoughts and present solutions, be open-minded, and have fun while learning. All right, so Christy told me that you all have already seen this clip, and while you're watching it, I want you to think about how does this video translate to the teacher-student relationship and what we do on a daily basis for our kids. Uh-oh. Is there?
Yeah, right.
Well, not when we can beat them.
Come here, Brock. You too, Jeremy.
What, am I in trouble now?
Not yet. I want to see you do the death crawl again, except I want to see your absolute best.
What, you want me to go to the 30?
I think you go to 50.
50. I can go to the 50 if nobody's on my back.
I think you do it with Jeremy on your back. But even if you can, I want you to promise me you're going to do your best.
All right.
Your best.
Okay.
You going to give me your best?
I'm going to give you my best.
All right, one more thing. I want you to do a blindfold.
Why?
I want you to get up at a certain point when you can go further. Get down. Jeremy, get on his back. Now get a good tight hold, Jeremy. All right.
All right, so I just wanted to show a brief clip of the movie. I think this clip is very powerful in so many ways. And it definitely relates to what we do on a daily basis for our kids. And I'll ask a couple of people to share out. But the reason this means so much to me is the football player, he was given a task. He was given something to do by his coach. And he didn't think he could accomplish it. Or he thought he could go but so far. But his coach already knew where he wanted to take that student or that player. And he stuck to it. He didn't let Brett stop. He gave Brett a goal. And then Brett ended up surpassing the goal. And I think that's important for us as teachers when we come in contact with kids to recognize that, you know, this kid might have an idea of their potential, but they don't realize their full potential. But as teachers, we have to recognize their full potential. And even if we feel sometimes that student can't reach a certain goal, we still have to push that student. We have to push that student. So I thought that clip was very important to what we do on a regular basis and how that relates to when we talk about engaging students. I was that football player. This is me in first grade, and as Christy said, you see a smile on this kid's face, but behind that smile was a lot of hurt from not being able to control situations at home, realizing that I wasn't progressing academically at the same speed as my peers in school and not understanding why. That was challenging for me, and I didn't have any control over that. And the only way I felt like I had control was giving my teacher a hard time, or frustrating my teacher, or making my teacher focus more on my behavioral issues and really focus on my academic deficits and making sure that she gets me on grade level. But I think what happened was, well, not what I think what happened was I came in contact with teachers that said, you know what, this is you right now, but I see you further on. And I see you being successful, and I'm going to tap in to your strengths, and I'm going to also tap into your weaknesses and turn those weaknesses into strengths as well. And so today, I am an 8th-year veteran teacher, not because of what I've been able to do, but because of the people that have been able to impact my life and to pour into my life and let me know that, you know what, Will, you can do it. You can do it. Even if deep down inside, they didn't know if I could do it. They let me know that I could do it, and it was everything that I needed to move forward. And we have to do the same thing for our kids on a daily basis. So our objectives is, of course, the introduction, which we've already done. We're going to look at some research-based practices to enhance engagement. We're going to do a culminating activity if we have time. I don't think we're going to have a lot of time. And then we have a conclusion, and then Christy is going to come at the end and kind of talk about what the next couple of days, well, today and what the next couple of days are going to look like. So what is cultural competency? According to the research, it says that Cultural competency is using the cultural knowledge, prior experiences, frames of reference, and performance styles of ethnically diverse students to make learning encounters more relevant and effective for them. Another form of research or resource of research said that though it is critical to make curriculum accessible and relevant to students, it is also important that the content be delivered in an engaging and interesting way. And I think that's the most important thing about cultural competency. I think all of us are good teachers. If we weren't good teachers, we would not be here today. But I think the important thing is making sure our world is evolving every day. And so we have to keep up with what's going on in our world, and we have to come up with new and innovative ways to engage our students. And that takes work. That takes time. But it can happen. And that's the way that we hook our students. We have to meet our students where they are. And that's what cultural competency is to me. So there are three strategies that I'm going to share with you today. The importance of knowing yourself, the importance of building positive and healthy relationships with your students, and then making instruction engaging and relevant to your students. Now, I just want you to know, I'm just sharing some things that have helped me along the way. I am no guru, like Christy said. I came in through Teach for America. It was rough for me my first 2 years, and there are still times where it's still rough, but the things that I'm going to share with you today are just some things that were helpful to me. So for knowing yourself, it says that, I'm just going to read the second one. If we could allow ourselves to become students of our own extraordinary self-education, we would be very well placed to facilitate the self-education of others. And so I think that's important for us to recognize who we are as human beings, knowing our strengths, knowing our weaknesses, knowing our triggers, whether they're positive or negative. Because when we know ourselves, then we can actually get to know our students. And when they do things or when they react in a certain way, it doesn't bother us as much because we know, we are aware of what triggers us. Even with my biggest issue as a teacher was, I started out in high school, and so I wasn't strong in math, but I didn't want my students to know I wasn't strong in math. And so a lot of the times my students will call me out on problems that I was teaching that I thought I was doing correct, but ultimately I was wrong. And so it was a challenge for me to accept from a student that is half my age telling me, you know, Mr. Cloud, that's some -5, and you just added that. You were supposed to subtract that. And that was hard for me because I'm the teacher. You're the student. You're supposed to listen to me. You can't teach me anything. And so that was something that I had to learn as a teacher. And through that, you're able to build those relationships, which is what we're going to get to next. Now, stop me at any point, and if you want to share, definitely chime in. But if not, it's all good too. So these are some steps that we can take, just a couple. One thing that helped me was using a personal inventory to locate my own temperament. So what was my personality? Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? Thank you. Am I an extrovert? Am I a person that is observant? Am I the life of the party? Am I a strong math person and a weak ELA and reading person? What type of teacher am I? And me being aware of that will allow me to better assist my kids. Also, ask your kids what they think about you. Because kids, a lot of times kids are not going to lie. They're going to tell you the truth. And there's power in knowing what your kids think about you. Not for the sake of trying to change yourself for them, but a lot of times kids perceive things differently than we do. And sometimes when you're aware of how kids perceive things, then you can have those conversations with them and say, look, I don't smile, but that doesn't mean I don't like you. That just means I don't smile. And so having those small conversations is important because it makes a lasting effect. So one of the things that I do at the beginning of the school year is I give my kids and my parents an owner's manual. So what is an owner's manual? What is an owner's manual? What's the purpose of an owner's manual?
Tells you all about that thing.
It tells you all about that thing that you just bought, right? So our students just bought us at the beginning of the school. Well, some of them didn't buy us. They just inherited us, right? But with that comes an owner's manual, and it basically just lets the student know, it lets the parent know who I am, what I like, what I don't like, what I would like to see, what I don't want to see, so that when those situations occur, you're already in the know. You know what's going on. And we're able to have a better conversation when we come to problems throughout the year, whether it's with the student or the parent. And I'll send all of this information to Christy so that you all can have access to it and use it as a resource.
What's on there?
Oh, so I'm sorry.
I mean, you don't have to read the whole thing, I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it starts out. So one of the things. So I'll say one of the, I guess, the heavy things on it, and then I'll say one of the lighthearted things on it. So one of the things that I mentioned on there is that I don't really like confrontation, but I don't mind having those difficult conversations. But I ask that if I have to have those difficult conversations, that we remain professional, and that you respect me as a professional, and that I respect you as an adult. And same thing with my kids. One of the lighter things is I like gifts. So at Christmas time and Thanksgiving, it says on there that you can get me a Starbucks gift card. And all right? So that's my owner's manual. So how do we build positive and healthy relationships with our students? I'm not going to read the research. I'll let you read that on your own time, but building relationships is the beginning of learning, guys. Sometimes kids come into our classrooms not understanding the importance of education. And so you can tell a child all day, it's important for you to get an education. Education is the opportunity to success. That will not connect with some of our students. It just won't, because it's not something that they're used to. But a kid will connect with, I love you. I care for you. Hey, you need to come back inside and put your jacket on. It's cold outside. No, you don't need to go to recess today because I didn't appreciate your behavior during morning time. They appreciate that. And so when a kid knows that you love them, that is the open door to getting them to respect and take ownership of their education. Because the other way around, it's just not going to work for some of our kids. And that's the way it worked for me. I responded to, I love you, I care for you. I didn't respond to, you need a degree. I had sisters that got degrees. I didn't need one. You know? So that's what some of our kids respond to. Some things you can do is get to know your students. If your students play sports, go to a sporting event. Watch what you say and how you say it. It's going back to those triggers. Sometimes it's not about what you told the student, it's how you said it. It's ultimately how you said it. How did that message translate to that student? Keep trying to reach those students that are hard to reach. Sometimes you won't reach a student to the last day of school. Sometimes you won't reach that student the whole year. It will take 2 and 3 years for that student to come back or to run into you somewhere in the city and say, look, I know I gave you a hard time, but I learned something from it. Make sure that you create character building days of the week. So collegiate day, that's awesome. You know, schools need that. Kids need to see that. Build goodwill on good days. 4-to-1 praise is huge. A lot of our kids are immune to the negative comments. You're too loud. Be quiet. Do your work. You're not listening. They're used to that. So I think we need to, and I need to do a better job of this, is focus more on the positive things that our kids are doing. So if they're on task doing morning work, say, you know what, class? You all are doing an excellent job of being on task doing morning work. You know what? I appreciate you for being in a straight line. And it takes the attention away from the student, the outliers, and it focuses it on the students that are doing what they're supposed to do. And then those students that are outliers are saying, hey, that's the way you get attention in this class? Well, let me do what those kids are doing. And it's a ripple effect. All right, so one of the things that I do to build relationships with my students is I'm a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And that's a big part of my life. My college experience is a big part of my life. I grew as a person through that experience. And so when I meet my students every year, in addition to teaching them Common Core standards, I make sure that they understand the opportunities that await them in college because it transformed my life. So last year, we took a trip to Howard University. Well, we took a trip to Washington, D.C., but one of the things we did was we went to Howard and we went to all of the fraternity and sorority plots. And so I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to share one of the hops that I did on campus with my bros, with my kids, because I wanted them to see that. So I'm going to let you see that right now. Y'all got it here.
Watch out, y'all. He about to, watch out, he about
Okay? So it's something we only do it.
No, I'm doing this video. Go ahead, Al.
Alright, try again. We gonna know. We gonna know. We gonna know. Now. We gonna know. We gonna know. And so that I mean, I've done that hop so many times it doesn't even mean anything to me. But those kids, when they saw that, I wish you could have seen the expressions on their face, the light bulbs that went off. Not just because they saw a hop, but they recognized that, you know what, I can do this too if I do what I need to do today in my classroom. Okay? And they saw that I was not just a disciplinarian, that I was a human being, that I've had experiences that have meant a lot to me, just like they have experiences that mean a lot to them. So kids knowing that you're human, it might be my fraternity, it might be that you love poetry. You know, it might be that you have a special place in Charlotte that you like to go to and just chill and kick back. They need to know those experiences.
Not all those places.
Well, no, not all of them. PG-13. But they need to know that we're human. And that's the way that you build those relationships. So lastly, how do we engage with culturally relevant instruction? And it kind of goes back to what I talked about. Those are just some of what the research says about culturally relevant instruction. And it basically talks about how our population of students is changing. Our populations don't all represent us anymore. You know, in politics, we've been talking about immigration for how long? I don't know. For a long time. And so our country is getting more and more diverse. And as a result, we need to make sure that we are reflecting that in our classrooms and making them feel inclusive. Okay? And there are easy ways that we can do that. There are easy ways that we can do that. So we can create games where those students are able to work together in cooperative learning groups, build competition, positive competition, incorporate call and response chants. I love call and response chants because there's a, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but there's an intrinsic message that is behind a call and response chant. It shows unity. It shows that everybody is on the same page. It says that we've come to school for the same goal. We might not look the same. We might not come from the same setting. We might have been through it before we walked through that door. We might have come in with the silver spoon. But together, we are one unit. And we have to work together for how many ever hours that we're together, 8 hours, whatever. And so I love call and responses. Yes, I do. So this is a call and response that I use to get my students back on task. We actually start our day with the call and response creed. And so it starts out with, I am a scholar. I'm a scholar. It's hard for me to say it because I'm expecting my kids to say it back. So I can't remember it right now. But we start out with something every day that lets us know that our day is about to start and we need to be on the same page.
Where is education? Where is education? Where are you heading? Where are you heading?
And so what I said is, where is education? And they beat on their chest and they say, in my heart. And they say, where are you? I say, where are you heading? And they say, to college. And so we do that just so they can remind themselves, okay, the whole goal is so you can get to college, and Mr. Lyles wants to make sure that you get there. All right? So that's an example of a call and response. And those are just little things that we can do. So the culminating activity. How much time do we have, Christy? All right, so about 10 minutes. All right. All right, so this is what I want to do. We don't have the chart paper. Oh, we do. Awesome. Yeah, you can. So I received the standards for each grade level. So don't worry about the standards. I'm pretty sure since we're in the week of those standards that you know what you're teaching your students. So what I want you to do is group yourselves by your grade level. And I know 4th through 7th, you all are departmentalized, if I'm not mistaken. So you want to group yourselves based on your content area. And so we're going to do this quick activity. What you're going to do is you're going to choose a standard from either math or reading. And you know what? I'll make it easy. It doesn't necessarily have to be a standard you're working on this week. It can be any standard that you can think of for your grade level. You're going to write the standard. You don't have to write it word for word. But you're going to write the standard. And then you're going to create a creative song and dance, skit, or poem to teach the chosen skill to your students. Okay? So like Nicole, her song this morning was Eye of the Tiger. So I anticipate her teaching a skill to her students that includes Eye of the Tiger. Okay? And her group is going to help her out.
Oh, yeah.
All right? And so we have about 10 minutes. But I want to give you an example of what it looks like. So as you're working, I'm just going to show you a video of how we did this same activity.
Just look at the signs, see the
you all are doing right now. And I'm sure everybody's not going to be able to share out, but we'll let a couple of groups. Oh, third grade is ready? All right, third grade is ready. We got some competition. We got some competition. Y'all can come up. Do y'all need a song or I'm going to bring up a... Okay.
So we're doing changes over time and biography, so a lot of our kids are learning historical placement and how that affects your actions and how that translates to where we live in the present time. So it helps us, especially going forward to EOGs, we try to always spiral back to core ELA lessons. So one of our things is cause and effect. I'm nervous. But I sing in front of the kids, so I'll sing in front of you. You just gotta repeat after me, okay?
Okay.
I'll just cue you. Cause, do-do-do-do-do-do. Miss Green ran over a nail. Effect, do-do-do-do-do-do. And then the kids can raise their hand, and I'll call on them to give me an effect, so one of you can raise your hand. Hello? You hurt your foot. I ran over a nail. Oh, she's like, you're tired? It's jacked up. and then they'll give me one response, and they won't be wrong as long as there's a connection. And I always stop and show them that the connection is right. So, cause, do-do-do-do-do, Brooke threw up in the back seat. Effect, do-do-do-do-do-do.
Your car stinks.
My car stinks. And I always repeat things today to emphasize that it's right. There's no wrong answer as long as you show the connection to the direct cause. Okay, I can keep going.
Do we have one more group? Okay.
All the places you'll go, I'm doing that today with my kids because it's Sue Days. But one of the things I have my kids and some of them introducing today is from, I forgot what it is. Repeat after me. If you want to be somebody.
If you want to be somebody.
If you want to go somewhere.
If you want to go somewhere.
You better wake up.
You better wake up.
And pay attention.
And pay attention.
And it goes like this, and just join right in. If you want to be somebody. If you want to go somewhere. You better wake up and pay attention.
All right. Hey, that's pretty cool because I was immediately able to make a connection between that song and Sister Act that I watched as a kid. So those are the connections that we want to be able to make with our kids. That's pretty cool. And so I like this activity because, like I said, you're able to build upon what the students already know and connect that with what they're learning. And it starts out as, I need to know this information, to I am this information. This information is me. Okay? And so that's what it means to engage the student. Okay? We have to make the education reflect who they are.
Can I share one quick piece of information?
Most definitely.
Sometimes we don't give kids enough of a chance to express themselves. Like Miss J and Miss Green, you feel comfortable up there. You're doing your thing.
No, I'm
But sometimes we have kids who would love to get up there and get some of that energy out, and we have not provided that availability for them to do it. You know, so if we open up that opportunity and say, hey guys, I want you to try to create a song about addition, or create a song about this apple tree, or whatever the topic is of the day, give them the opportunity to do that thing. It might be singing, it might be writing a poem, it might be whatever. But give them that opportunity because that makes them feel like, you know, this little thing that I'm doing, it matters to my teacher. She rewarded me for something that normally I probably would get reprimanded for.
Exactly.
You know, engaging kids, drawing them in, letting them know, okay, well, that's your talent, so we're going to let you use your talent in that way. If that helps you to remember it, great. That's awesome. That's what it's all about. Do we always have to remember it on a sheet of paper and some scissors and glue? No. We want it ingrained in our kids to the point that 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, they're going to remember Miss J taught me that if you want to be, and I like that beat, and she let me bebop or whatever with it, that's going to mean something to them way down the road.
I have college students that will find me on social media that I taught in 6th and 7th grade, and as part of our Greek roots and affixes, they learn the Greek alphabet. They still quote the Greek alphabet as adults. It has nothing to do with the curriculum, but it's something that drew them in, something that they learned that was special to them at the time, and it's crazy the things that impact kids. You're like, you're an adult with your own kids now, why does that matter? But it was important to them, it was fun to them. The propaganda unit, you never know how things hit kids.
So sometimes my math projects, and Ms. Tucker knows, because I have her daughter and her son, they incorporate a choice of somehow representing a math concept, but there's always a choice of something artsy, something musical, something mathematical, something written to adhere to everybody's. And her child always did artsy stuff, because she liked art, but it always went with our math skill. And then I had the student, I don't know if y'all remember Tavarcier, but Tavarcier did a rap that represented what we were doing in math. He actually had his mom take him to a studio and made a CD.
Oh, wow.
And he was so proud of that, and honestly, everything in it made sense. And he was that low kid, and he ended up growing 2 years at the end of the year. I mean, so it's not just fluff, it's what they're good at and what they like.
And this is a mom that came in at the beginning of the year, open house, and came to me after she met Joy Puckett. Found me in the hallway and said, I want him out of her classroom. I do not like her. I do not like her attitude. I don't think she's going to be a great teacher. And by the end of the year, her child had grown and wanted to come back on teacher work days to come volunteer in her classroom and do things in her classroom. Over taking the opportunity to learn more about him and know what his interests were and to build a life.
And I had him 2 years, 4th and 5th. And at the end of 5th, she said, if I had money, I'd take you on a cruise with me and we would party.
I told her absolutely not.
So yeah, I don't think I need to say anything else. I think you all have made very, very relevant points to what we're talking about here. And so I wanted to show this video. I'm not going to show it for the sake of time, but basically this is a video where there's a poor man and he says, his sign says, I'm homeless, can you give me some change or something along those lines. No, not I'm homeless, I'm blind. Can you give me some change? So this lady walks by, well, a little bit more. People were giving change, but they didn't give as much. So what this lady did is she came by and she changed the words around. Same message, but the words said now, it's a beautiful day, and I don't have the opportunity to see it. And after that, people just poured in and gave change.
So you all know this was not planned.
No, I have, Christy told me I want you to do a presentation, and I went from there. So if these are videos that you all have seen, it's just fake. It's just fake. But the message behind that is the content's not going to change, guys. Common Core might change. I'm pretty sure it will eventually. But the standards will not change for the most part. But the way in which we execute those lessons, how we teach those lessons, the kids that we teach, they are going to change. And we have to change with them if we want to reach them. Because we can't afford to lose any more of our babies. We just can't afford to lose any more of them. And if we can just take that extra step, as Ms. Puckett and Ms. Tucker and the two young ladies from these groups so nicely. If we just take that extra step, and it's hard. When you've worked hard all day and you have to go home to families, husbands, wives, kids, and other responsibilities, it's hard. But we have to take that extra step because in the end, it is going to make the world of a difference. Okay? So that is the end of my presentation. I am going to turn it over to Christy so she can kind of talk about what the next couple of days are going to look like. I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity, because this was a culturally relevant moment for me. Because my upbringing and education was very tough, and not just academically, socially, it was tough. And it started in elementary school, but it didn't get to a place where I became very confident about myself and about my performance until I was almost an adult. And so this means a lot to me. This means a lot to me. And I need you to know what you do for your kids on a daily basis, whether you recognize it or not, whether they're cursing you out, talking behind your back, intentionally doing things because they know you're going to say something. Know that what you're doing is making a difference. It's making a difference. Thank you.
Talk about it all day long, but when you